Hello, Coeur d'Alene. We're here today with one of your candidates for mayor. And welcome so much, John. So good to have you.
Thank you.
For participating.
Thank you for having me, Elsa. Daniel, good to be with you both. This is a really cool space that you have.
Thank you.
I didn't know. I'm not a Coeur d'Alene snob, but when I saw, okay, I have to go to Post Falls, it's over in the Riverbend area, I thought, what is over there? And this is a really cool place,
Yes.
the Cove, like a cool
Yes.
co-working place. So thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys being involved in the election and trying to help people get their message out. That's really cool.
Yes, and we want them to get to know you a little bit better, which is the purpose for this video. So we'll start with just 5 simple questions, and let us know a little bit about yourself in the process. So first question is, why are you running for office, and who are you?
So I've lived in Coeur d'Alene North Idaho for almost 20 years. We moved here in 2008, and I'm married for 21 years, have 4 boys. I moved here right out of my university training. So I've been here working my whole professional life as a dentist, and although I've worked in Coeur d'Alene that whole time, 17 years, I've only lived downtown Coeur d'Alene in the foregrounds for about 10 years. And during that whole time, I've been actively participating in and watching and keeping tabs on the process at City Hall. And because of that, I feel like I have a good understanding of who the current candidates are. And I even, after Woody and Dan declared their candidacy for mayor early this year, really early. Like you have until August 29th or something is the last day, which is when I decided to do it because I didn't love the other 3 candidates. Dan and Woody, in my mind, are kind of more of the same. And then Debbie, although she's a super nice, I would consider her a friend, super nice woman. I love that she wants to be involved too, but she is so new here that I think, well, is it ready? Is it your time right now? So my issue with more of the same with Dan and Woody is a lot of people in Coeur d'Alene feel like they haven't been listened to and like they haven't had a voice in what has happened. So like if you look around downtown Coeur d'Alene, you see the big skyscrapers, the big buildings going up, the resort's getting a brand new tower, and people are upset about that. And so I think if we vote in Dan or Woody, why? I mean, everything that has happened, if people are not happy with it, it's happened under their watch. But for me, the biggest thing has been, initially I decided to run because I wanted to inform the public and engage the public to help minimize division that has been, it got fever pitch right after COVID, and it has kind of calmed down a little bit. It simmers up every once in a while, but I do feel like there are big divisions in our community. But the biggest thing now is really the budget. The city just passed a budget that's $1.8 million more than what they've taken in this year, and so they have to use reserve funds. They did the same thing last year, except it was $2 million. And the budget jumped from $138 million to $152 million. So the budget is growing, and honestly, like Dan says, I have experience, vote for me, experience matters, which is kind of true, except if we look at his experience, he says, I've never voted for a property tax increase. That's awesome. I would love to do that too. However, we can't keep increasing the budget and not increasing revenue somehow, and they haven't found a way to do that. So that's something that I would do. There's a long answer to your question.
Thank you. Second question is, what are your top 3 priorities should you be elected?
So if I'm elected as mayor of Coeur d'Alene, the main thing I want to do is solve the budget. I'll call it a crisis because if we keep spending the way we are, the reserve money is going to drop to 0. So we're $1.8 million short this year. That's after the maximum property tax increase that the city could take in. If they didn't pass that, then it would have been more like $2.5, $3 million short. So we have to find a way other than relying on homeowners and property owners to pay for the city services. And that's going to be tourists. They come, and they enjoy the amenities, and they contribute to the economy. We love tourism. We want it to work. We want it to work better, but we need to find a way for them to directly contribute to the streets, the parks, the first responders. So I would propose a 2% hotel tax. It would have to be voluntary at first, and this is a little bit of a side note, but like the Coeur d'Alene Press is owned by the Hagedorn Corporation, which owns the resort, which is the hotel. So two big parts of my platform, two of my top three things to do, informing the public and helping tourists pay more for the services, kind of put a burden on the press, and they put a burden on the Hagedorn Corporation at the resort and other hotels. So I'm not surprised as I see Coeur d'Alene Press coverage come out at me that's like, we don't want him to win, and it feels a little bit like I'm being a target. But I think that's the beauty of me not being a politician. I'm not coming into this race to say, hey, vote for me, this is the rest of my life, I'm going to be a mayor and I'm going to be a politician forever. No, I'm doing this to serve and to get us back on track. And that makes it uncomfortable for some people in power, I'm sure, but I don't know of any other way. I haven't heard the other candidates' ideas on how to balance the budget, and they failed to do it the last couple of years, so it would be interesting to see. But okay, so 1, balance the budget. 2, inform the citizens, which it would be great if everybody read the Coeur d'Alene Press, if everybody received it and they read it and they thought, hey, this is a fair and balanced newspaper that reports on issues. However, many people don't feel that it's fair and balanced, and most people don't receive it. So can we make the Coeur d'Alene Press better somehow? Maybe. Hopefully they will. But we also have to use other means to get the word out to public. Like one example I keep using is the North Idaho News. It's a Facebook group. You probably have seen it. They have, 160,000 followers on Facebook, and they, if we send something to them and they post it, everybody's going to know. If the city has excess property it's selling, everybody will know, and the city will make premium dollars on that sale of that property. Or if there's a property for lease that the city has, which the city does have several empty properties or properties of people that don't pay any rent, and people should know that, and they should know, hey, can this be managed better? And, well, I would love to bring my business there. Can I bring my business to that space? So if people are informed, that would be great for the city. The third thing is just engaging people. So, for example, I'll tell you a story because policy talk is so boring. But the other day, my wife and I had lunch at Sweet Lou's, and after we left, we were walking down on Front Street. The sun was shining, beautiful day, blue skies, and we, people, you walk and talk, and then you stop and talk. And we were stopped and talking, and we saw a bench that has just wooden slats across the bench. It's a city bench. The city put it in. It's on the corner of, I don't know if that's 6th maybe in front. But the wood slats, like one of them is broken. You can still sit on it. It's not going to poke you if you sit on it, but it's broken, and the stain is wearing away. And one of my platforms is engage the community. And so what do I mean, and how does this story tie in? Well, imagine if the city staff, instead of being like, oh, crap, there's another bench we have to fix. And they probably don't think that. They're great people at the city. But imagine if they said, hey, look, there's a bench that needs to be fixed. Let's post it on the website where all the church groups and community groups and service groups, 4-H, whatever, scouts, all those people can see, and people can say, we want that one. We're going to fix that. And they take the young people in the city, and they go, and they fix it. And then every time you walk by that bench, like if my son and I were to fix it, we walk by, Dad, remember when we fixed that bench? And, years later, hey, Dad, do you think that stain is coming off a little bit? Should we restain it? I don't see it on the city's website, but we could probably just do it anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't know. When people take ownership of their city, it's better.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so third question is, what are your recommendations to mitigate the impact of growth that growth is having in North Idaho, including the roads, schools, healthcare, police, fire, etc.? That's a huge concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, growth and its impact. One thing, I mean, Coeur d'Alene is on the map. Beautiful place. And I think because of it, even Post Falls and Rathdrum and other communities are also growing, and they're feeling the pain. And we do have a problem with infrastructure. One thing that would help is, for example, and this is maybe indirect, but I mean, we have to get infrastructure under control. But with the growth, there's a lot of investors that come in and they'll buy up properties, especially in Coeur d'Alene, south of Harrison, towards downtown. A lot of homes have turned into short-term rentals, and this does a few things. One, it keeps local families out, which is a problem because then those homes are vacant, the neighborhoods are vacant during the winter time, and people aren't there stimulating the economy year-round. And if there's less stimulation of the economy, there's less tax dollars. But if we increase the permit fee for short-term rentals, right now it's $180 per year to renew, which is almost free. If we increase that fee, the city can get more revenue. Maybe some short-term rental property owners will say, gosh, if I have to pay more for my fee, now I have to pay a local lodging tax, I have to charge customers. Maybe eventually it doesn't make sense, and more homes come on the market. Maybe home prices come down. There's more families there. They're paying taxes. They're working. They're buying things in the community. I think that would help with growth. Ultimately, I think we need some better connections, like the Hutter bypass. I thought was a good idea. I think the proposal sent forth about increasing the registration fee, I thought that was a good idea. As mayor of Coeur d'Alene, I can't make that happen, but as mayor, I would work with the mayors of Post Falls, Rathdrum, county commissioners, and really we do need to, like Atlas, for example, is a 2-lane street, and it's not good. I don't know if some streets maybe need to turn into one-way streets, like maybe Ramsey's one-way, Atlas is one-way. I don't know. I don't have all the answers for sure, but I know we have really smart people in the city that I would work with to leverage their experience. That's probably the best part of my answer, to get straight to the point, but anyway, thanks.
Okay, great. And then the other one is a really hot topic. The continued increase in property taxes is a concern for most homeowners. What are your suggestions on how to pay for city services needed while trying to maintain lower property taxes to ensure that homeowners can stay in their home?
Yeah, so to unburden the homeowners is one of my top priorities. I kind of mentioned earlier, and I think that's the key. We have to, the city finance director, Katie Ebner, gave the presentation of the budget early September, and she showed a projection of going forward the next several years, showing if we raise property taxes at the maximum every year, 3% and 1% of foregone, and expenses for the city only rise 1%, which is not really realistic. I don't know about you guys, but I think CPI or inflation is at least about 2 to 3% every year. So it's not a realistic projection that she did, but she was doing it to illustrate a point that showed even if we do that, the reserves will be shrinking, we're going to be in a tight spot. So the answer is definitely not to solely rely on property taxes. The city has to tap into another revenue source, which I propose as the local option tax for hotel stays, short-term rental stays. And I've thought of other ways that we could do it, but that is I think the best way because it directly hits the consumers or the tourists that come in here. I did a town hall last week, or I guess it was this past week. And one gentleman who's been in the city for 30 years said, hey, when we had to build the jail, there was an increased sales tax for the whole county for a short period of time. But that's a county thing. So as a mayor, I couldn't do that. And the downside of doing a sales tax increase is that it affects everybody, and we're already carrying the burden as the homeowners. So I think we have to rely on the hotel tax.
Okay. All right, and then your fifth question is, what is your background and how will it help the city should you be elected?
Yeah, so my background, as I mentioned before, I've been in the community my whole professional life, and I joined a dental practice. It was my dad and one other dentist, and we had 10 or 15 employees, and we have strived to take care of people like family, and every patient you meet in a dental office, they hire and fire you every appointment. You have to be on your best. You have to give your best service every time. So I'm not coming in as like an out-of-state real estate magnate, or I haven't made thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, who knows, off of like book deals. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but every dollar I've made has come from directly interacting and providing a service for somebody in our community. That means I get to know them personally. I get to know intimate details about their life and their medical history, and in that trusted space, I have to be, it's like a sacred responsibility to like care for people. And so I see the same vision for the city. We have this great space, this great city that we have to serve and we have to take care of. And so I would approach leadership in the city the same way I have, and our company has grown from 10 to 15 employees. We have nearly 100 now with 3 different offices, and I think that shows that we know how to provide a good service, and the city is a service industry. So as mayor, I would bring vision, direction. I'm a team player, so I can work with city staff, city council members. There's going to be probably a few things that we have to point out between me and Dan, who I consider to be, many people consider to be the front runner of the race, Dan. But, for example, Dan voted no on the current budget because it had a property tax increase, which is great. But as a leader, if the other city council people followed him and said, okay, you're right, Dan, we should also vote no, it was too late to vote no. If the city did not pass the budget that day, Katie Ebner pointed out, if we don't have this budget passed, we can't give the budget to the county and levy the taxes on property values. And then our budget will be $50 million short. So to me, that's not leadership. Leadership is making the hard decisions of, you know what, I don't want to raise property taxes, but we've had all year to make the budget. And by the way, Idaho Code Section 50 says the city council is responsible for creating a budget for the city. So they had all year to do it, and it came up short, even with the property tax increase. But at the end of the day, if the budget is what it is, like, to not pass it and wave your flag saying I didn't vote for a property tax increase, to me is disingenuous, and it's not leadership. So I'll make hard decisions. I'll make mistakes. I will own up to my mistakes. I will communicate well with the citizens. So those are the things I would bring.
Okay. And then finally, just give us your closing statement. Anything else that you want to cover?
Man, I've already said so much. But I guess the most important thing that I would want voters to remember about me is that I'm not running, this is not a career change, this is not a lifelong aspiration to be mayor. I'm doing this because of concern I have for other candidates' vision, or, there's been a lot of name calling in the past, and I think whoever is elected our mayor needs to represent all citizens, be they right, left, middle, gay, straight. Every citizen needs to have somebody who can stand for them and say, I'm the mayor of Coeur d'Alene. We have a great city. We welcome everybody here, and we take care of our people. We take care of our streets and water, and we don't get into political fights. And I'm not a politician. I am somebody who lives in the community, loves the community, and has served the community, and would continue to do so. Without taking a salary, by the way, because, well, one, I'm blessed enough not to need it, but two, our city can't afford it. I mean, I don't want to take reserve dollars. We need that money for the next snowstorm that blows over trees and smashes houses, or if a tragedy strikes Coeur d'Alene and we need our first responders to work overtime. So my salary will go to a first responders fund.
Great. And I'm glad you mentioned the need to represent everyone, regardless if we agree with them or not. Several of the other candidates also mentioned that, and I appreciate that. I take big issue with candidates that think that they only represent those that voted for them. You don't. You represent everybody who voted for you, who didn't vote for you, and those that never vote, you represent them all. So,
Yeah,
good point.
That's a great point, yeah,
Yes.
thanks.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the opportunity and getting to know you a little bit further.
Thank you, yeah, my pleasure.
It was nice to see you. Thanks, everyone, for watching.